I, 28F, am married to my husband, Mark, 30M. We had been together for 6 years, married for 3. In that time, I learned that his family was a package deal, and the most important part of that package was his younger sister, Chloe. To Mark, Chloe was perfect. She could do no wrong. To me, Chloe was a different person entirely. She was the smiling face with the subtle jab, the sweet voice with the cutting remark that only I seemed to hear. For years, I told myself I was being too sensitive. I told myself I was imagining the malice in her eyes when she would compliment my dress, then mention it would look so much better on someone with her figure. I tried to keep the peace for Mark's sake. I smiled, I was polite, and I swallowed my feelings. But on Christmas Eve, something broke. It broke in front of the entire family, right under the twinkling lights of the Christmas tree. The breaking point came wrapped in expensive paper with a giant, glittering bow. We were all gathered in my in-laws' living room. My mother-in-law, Carol, was sitting in her favorite armchair, beaming as she watched her children. My father-in-law was handing out gifts. My sister, Emily, was there too. She had always been my rock, the one person who saw Chloe for who she really was. The gift exchange started pleasantly enough. I received a nice sweater from my in-laws. I gave them a gift certificate to their favorite restaurant. Everything was normal, polite, and painfully predictable. Then it was Mark's turn to give his gifts. He handed me a small, nicely wrapped box. I opened it to find a pair of earrings. They were pretty, but they were not really my style. I knew he had not put much thought into them. "Thank you, honey," I said, trying to sound grateful. I gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. He smiled, but his eyes were already scanning the room for his sister. "Chloe, this one is for you," he said, his voice booming with excitement. He handed her a much larger box. It was heavy, and the wrapping was immaculate. Chloe's eyes lit up. She tore into it with theatrical glee. Inside was a brand new, top-of-the-line laptop, the exact one she had been talking about for months, the one she said she could never afford. My heart sank. The earrings I received probably cost less than the sales tax on that computer. Chloe squealed with delight. "Oh, Mark, you shouldn't have," she cried, jumping up to hug him. "This is the best gift ever." "You are the best brother in the entire world!" Carol clapped her hands together. "Oh, Mark, that is so thoughtful of you. You always know just how to spoil your sister." I felt a familiar sting of resentment. It was not about the money, not really. It was about the thought, the effort, the blatant favoritism that was on display for everyone to see. I looked at the earrings in my hand, then at the $1,000 laptop in Chloe's. The difference was a slap in the face. I tried to keep my expression neutral, but Emily caught my eye from across the room and gave me a small, sympathetic frown. I knew she understood. I must have let my disappointment show for a second too long. Mark noticed me looking at the laptop. His happy expression soured just a little. "What is it, Sarah?" he asked, his tone defensive. I forced a smile. "Nothing. It is a wonderful gift. She will love it." My voice was tight. "It sure is," he said, puffing out his chest. "She deserves it. She has had a really tough year." Chloe had declared every year of her adult life a tough year. It was her go-to excuse for her poor decisions and her constant need for bailouts from her family. I took a slow, deep breath. I knew I should just let it go. I knew it was not the time or the place, but years of biting my tongue had worn me down. The words slipped out before I could stop them. "We have all had a tough year, Mark," I said quietly. It was not an accusation, just a simple statement of fact. We had been trying to save for a down payment on a house, a goal that seemed to get further away with every expensive, tough year Chloe had. Mark's face darkened. He saw my comment as a direct attack, a criticism of his generosity toward his beloved sister. The festive atmosphere in the room evaporated. My father-in-law suddenly found something interesting on the ceiling. Carol's smile became a thin, disapproving line. Chloe watched us, a flicker of triumph in her eyes. She loved this. She loved being the center of attention, the reason for a conflict between her brother and me. "What is that supposed to mean?" Mark snapped, his voice rising. "I just mean that it is a very generous gift. I said, trying to backtrack, especially since we are trying to save. Are you serious right now? He said, his voice getting louder. You are going to bring up money on Christmas Eve in front of my family? I was not bringing up money, I whispered, my cheeks burning with shame. He cut me off. He took a step toward me, his face twisted in anger. The whole room was silent, watching us. He lowered his voice to a harsh, furious hiss that everyone could still hear. She needed it, Sarah. She needed something nice. I wanted to get it for her. I like making her happy. Then he looked over at Chloe, who was watching with wide, innocent eyes, and his expression softened into one of pure adoration. He turned back to me, his face hard again. He did not care that we were in a room full of people. He did not care that he was humiliating me. All he cared about was defending his sister, and his choice to prioritize her over me, over us. He took a deep breath, and then he shouted the words that would echo in my mind for days. He pointed a finger at Chloe, who was now pretending to look uncomfortable. She is my favorite person in the world, Sarah. Do you understand me? She is my favorite. The room was utterly still. The only sound was the faint hum of the Christmas lights. Every eye was on me. I felt small, insignificant, and utterly worthless. He had not just said he loved his sister. He had declared her his favorite person, right in front of his wife. It was a deliberate, cruel choice of words, designed to put me in my place. I looked at Chloe. A tiny, smug smile played on her lips for just a second before she replaced it with a look of feigned concern. She had won. She had always won. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I would not give her the satisfaction. I stood up slowly, my hands trembling. "Excuse me," I mumbled, and I walked out of the living room, leaving the sound of my husband's angry words hanging in the air behind me. I did not know where I was going. I just needed to get away. I fled down the hallway to the guest bathroom and locked the door behind me. I leaned against the cool wood, my heart pounding in my chest. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on me. I finally let the tears fall, silent tears of anger and hurt that I had held back for far too long. He had chosen her. In front of everyone, he had made it clear who came first in his life. And it was not me. A few minutes later, there was a soft knock on the door. "Sarah?" "It is me," a quiet voice said. It was my sister, Emily. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand and unlocked the door. Emily slipped inside, closing it gently behind her. She did not say anything at first. She just pulled me into a hug. I leaned against her, the sobs I had been suppressing finally shaking my body. "I am so sorry," she whispered into my hair. "He is a jerk, a complete and total jerk." "He hates me," I choked out. "He really, truly hates me." "No, he does not," she said, pulling back to look at me. "He is just stupid. He is blinded by her. You know how she is. She manipulates him." "I know," I said, my voice thick with tears. "But he lets her. He chooses her every single time." "Did you hear what he said? His favorite person. How am I supposed to compete with that?" "You should not have to compete," Emily said fiercely. "You are his wife. You are supposed to be his number one. This is not on you, Sarah. This is on him." We stood in silence for another moment. I could hear the faint sounds of conversation starting up again in the living room. They were already moving on, pretending nothing had happened. The thought made me feel even more alone. "I do not know what to do," I said, feeling helpless. "I cannot keep living like this. It is like I am always coming in second place in my own marriage." Emily looked at me, her expression unreadable. She seemed to be wrestling with a decision. "There is something you need to see," she said finally. Her voice was low and serious. "What is it?" I asked, wiping my nose with a piece of toilet paper. She hesitated for a second longer. "I was not sure if I should show you. I did not want to make things worse, especially not tonight. But after what he just did, you deserve to know the truth. You deserve to know what you are really dealing with." "The truth about what?" I asked, my confusion cutting through my sadness. Emily pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking slightly as she scrolled through her photos. "A few weeks ago, We were all out for your mother-in-law's birthday dinner, she began, not looking at me. Remember that? At the Italian restaurant? I nodded. I remembered it well. Chloe had spent most of the dinner on her phone, texting and smiling to herself. When I had asked her if everything was okay, she had waved her hand dismissively and said she was just dealing with a work thing. Mark had then told me to leave her alone, that she was busy and important. Well, Emily continued, her voice tight with anger, I was sitting next to her. I saw what she was doing. She was not dealing with a work thing, Sarah. She stopped scrolling and turned the phone screen toward me. She was doing this. I looked down at the phone. It was a picture. Emily had taken it from the side, looking over Chloe's shoulder. The photo was crystal clear. It showed Chloe's phone screen, and on it was a text conversation. The person she was texting was listed as Bestie, and the messages were about me. I leaned closer, my blood running cold as I read the words. Chloe. Ugh, Sarah is wearing that ugly green sweater again, the one that makes her look like a sad little frog. Bestie. LOL. Is she still going on about that stupid house? Chloe. Constantly. It is so boring. Like, get a life. Mark is getting so sick of it. He told me he just agrees with her to shut her up. Bestie. Does she know about the money he gave you for your car? Chloe. Of course not. She would have a full-blown meltdown. She is so tight with money. It is pathetic. I can get anything I want from him. He is completely wrapped around my little finger. He just bought me an early Christmas present, a new laptop. She is getting some cheap earrings. It is going to be so funny watching her pretend to be happy about them. She is my favorite person to mess with. I read the last message twice. She is my favorite person to mess with. My own words, twisted and used as a weapon against me. And then, the casual cruelty about the gifts. She had known all along. She had known what Mark was getting me, and she had known what he was getting her. The entire scene in the living room had not just been a happy accident for her, it had been planned. She had been looking forward to my humiliation. She had orchestrated it. The photo was a punch to the gut. All the little cuts, the subtle insults, the moments I had questioned my own sanity, it was all real. It was not in my head. Chloe was not just thoughtless or a little selfish. She was malicious. She was actively, gleefully trying to hurt me and sabotage my marriage. The proof was right there, in black and white, on my sister's phone. She knew, I whispered, my voice trembling with a new emotion. It was not sadness anymore. It was pure, cold rage. She knew about the gifts. She wanted this to happen. I am so sorry, Sarah, Emily said, her voice soft. I saw her typing, and she had this nasty little smirk on her face. I had a bad feeling, so I snapped a picture. I did not know what to do with it. I stared at the photo, the words burning into my brain. He told me he just agrees with her to shut her up. That part hurt almost as much as the rest. My husband, my partner, was not on my team. He was placating me. He was complaining about me to his sister, the same sister who was actively working to undermine our marriage. The betrayal was staggering. It came from both of them. A two-pronged attack I had been too naive to see. And the car, I said, remembering the conversation from a few months ago. Chloe's old car had broken down, and a week later she had a new one. She had told everyone she got a great financing deal. But Mark had given her the money from our joint savings account, money that was supposed to be for our future. I did not know about the car money, Emily said, looking horrified. Oh, Sarah, this is so much worse than I thought. I finally looked up from the phone, my eyes meeting my sister's in the mirror. I did not see a sad, defeated woman anymore. I saw a flicker of something else in my reflection. I saw a cold, hard determination. The tears were gone. The hurt was still there, but it was being rapidly consumed by a firestorm of anger. They thought I was a joke. They thought I was a pathetic little frog in an ugly green sweater. They thought they could lie to me, steal from me, and humiliate me, and I would just take it. They were wrong. Can you send me that picture? I asked, my voice steady. Emily nodded immediately. Of course. What are you going to do? I do not know yet, I said honestly. But I am done being their doormat. I am done keeping the peace. This is not just about a laptop anymore. This is about everything. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Emily. The photo was now in my possession. It was my proof, my weapon. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange sense of calm settle over me. The game had changed. Chloe wanted to mess with me. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I was not going to cry in a bathroom anymore. I was going to fight back. And I was going to win. I opened the bathroom door and walked back out into the hallway. I could hear them in the living room, the sound of forced laughter. They had already forgotten about me. They had moved on. But I had not. I would not. This Christmas was not over. Not by a long shot. The night was still young, and I had a war to plan. A war that Chloe and Mark had started, but one that I was determined to finish. I walked back toward the living room, but I did not go in. I stood in the doorway, just out of sight, and I listened. I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. I needed to hear how they talked about me when they thought I was not around. Is she still hiding in the bathroom? I heard Carol, my mother-in-law, ask. Her voice was laced with annoyance, not concern. She is being so dramatic. Mark was just being honest. I feel terrible, Chloe said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. I did not mean to cause a fight. I hope she is not mad at me. It is not your fault, sweetie, Carol cooed. She is just jealous. She has always been jealous of your bond with your brother. Some women are like that. They cannot stand for their husbands to have a close relationship with their family. My stomach churned. Jealous. They thought this was about jealousy. They had reduced my valid feelings of being disrespected and devalued to petty envy. It was easier for them to paint me as the villain, the hysterical wife, than to admit that Mark's behavior was completely out of line. Then Mark spoke, and his words cut deeper than anything else. I do not know what her problem is. I buy her nice things, all the time. He sounded exasperated, like I was a problem he had to manage. It is Christmas. Can we not just have a nice time? She always finds a way to make things difficult. He did not defend me. He did not show an ounce of remorse for humiliating me. He sided with them, painting me as the difficult one, the source of the drama. He was completely oblivious to the pain he had caused, or worse, he was not oblivious at all. He just did not care. Listening to them, I realized that showing them the photo right now would be a mistake. They would twist it. They would say I was snooping. They would claim the texts were just a joke. Chloe would cry, and Mark and his mother would rush to her defense. They were a united front, and I was the outsider. I needed more than just the photo. The photo was proof of Chloe's character, but I needed proof of the damage she had caused. I needed something concrete, something they could not deny or explain away. The car money, that was it. That was the key. I slipped away from the doorway and went to the guest room where our coats were. I needed some air. I needed to think. I put on my coat and quietly let myself out the back door into the cold night air. The snow was falling softly, blanketing the world in a silent, white hush. It was a stark contrast to the ugly storm raging inside me. I walked down the driveway, the cold air stinging my cheeks. I pulled out my phone. The first thing I did was open my banking app. We had a joint savings account, the house fund. I had not checked it in a few weeks, trusting that our automatic deposits were steadily growing our balance. My heart hammered against my ribs as I typed in my password. The balance loaded. I gasped. It was thousands of dollars lower than it should have been. Thousands. I frantically scrolled through the transaction history. There it was. 2 months ago. A transfer of $5,000. The description was vague. Zelle transfer to C. Miller. C. Miller. Chloe Miller. $5,000. That was not just helping out with a car repair. That was a down payment on a new car. He had taken it from our savings, from our future, and he had not even told me. The betrayal was so much deeper than a laptop or some cruel words. This was a secret, a huge, life-altering secret. He had lied to me every single day for 2 months. Every time we talked about the house, every time we looked at listings online, He was lying. He was pretending to be my partner while secretly funneling our future into his sister's pocket. The cold no longer bothered me. My rage was a furnace, burning away the hurt and the shock. This was not just an insult. This was a fundamental breach of trust. This was the end of our marriage as I knew it. But I was not going to let it end with me as the victim. I was going to expose them, all of them. I saved a screenshot of the bank transfer. Now I had 2 pieces of evidence: the photo of the texts showing Chloe's malicious intent, and the screenshot of the bank statement showing the financial betrayal, intent, and impact. I had everything I needed, but I still had to be smart about it. A direct confrontation tonight would still be a chaotic mess. I needed a better stage. I needed to choose the time and the place where they would have no escape, where their masks would be ripped off in front of everyone. Christmas Day. Tomorrow. The whole extended family would be at the house for dinner. Aunts, uncles, cousins, a much larger audience, an audience that saw Mark and Chloe as the perfect siblings and Carol as the perfect mother. I would wait until then. I would play the part of the dutiful, apologetic wife for the rest of the evening. I would go back inside, I would force a smile, and I would pretend that everything was okay. I would let them think they had won. I would let them get comfortable in their lies and their deceptions. And then, tomorrow, when they were least expecting it, I would burn their whole world to the ground. I took one last deep breath of the cold, clean air, and I turned and walked back toward the house. My mind was clear. My purpose was set. I was no longer the sad little frog. I was the scorpion, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The thought did not scare me. It empowered me. For the first time in a very long time, I felt like I was in control of my own life. When I stepped back inside, the warmth of the house felt suffocating. The smell of cinnamon and pine, which had seemed so festive an hour ago, now smelled like deceit. I took off my coat and walked back into the living room. All eyes turned to me. I could see the mixture of pity, annoyance, and curiosity on their faces. "I am sorry," I said, my voice soft and even. I looked directly at Mark. I overreacted. It is Christmas Eve. I should not have said anything about the money. It was a wonderful gift for your sister. Mark's expression softened instantly. He was so easy to manipulate when you told him what he wanted to hear. "It is okay," he said, walking over to me. He put his arm around my shoulder. "I am sorry I yelled. I just love her so much, you know." "I know," I said, letting him pull me into a hug. I rested my head on his chest, feeling nothing but ice in my veins. He thought my apology was real. He thought this was over. He had no idea this was just the beginning. Chloe gave me a small, hesitant smile from across the room. "Are we okay, Sarah?" she asked, her voice full of fake concern. "Of course," I said, giving her a bright, false smile in return. "Merry Christmas, Chloe." "Merry Christmas," she chirped, her eyes shining with victory. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced cheerfulness. I played my part perfectly. I complimented my mother-in-law on her decorations. I laughed at my father-in-law's bad jokes. I asked Chloe questions about her new laptop, pretending to be thrilled for her. On the outside, I was the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law. On the inside, I was a general planning a battle. I watched them, studied them. I saw the way Carol would pat Chloe's hand every time she spoke. I saw the way Mark's eyes would follow Chloe around the room, full of adoration. They were a tight, impenetrable unit, bound by years of secrets and shared delusions. But I had found the crack in their fortress, and tomorrow I was going to tear it down, brick by brick. When it was finally time to leave, I hugged my in-laws goodbye, wishing them a Merry Christmas, with a smile that never reached my eyes. In the car on the way home, Mark reached over and took my hand. "I am glad we are okay," he said, his voice full of relief. "I hate it when we fight." "Me too," I said, squeezing his hand. I felt a pang of something, a ghost of the love I used to have for him. But it was quickly extinguished by the cold, hard reality of what he had done. He was not the man I thought I had married. He was a stranger, and he had chosen his side. "You know," he said, his voice casual, "Chloe was telling me she might need a little more help in the new year. Her rent is going up." I just stared out the window at the passing Christmas lights. He was already priming me for the next withdrawal from our future. The audacity of it was breathtaking. He really thought I was that stupid, that blind. "We can talk about it later," I said, my voice neutral. "Okay," he said, seemingly satisfied with that. He turned up the Christmas music on the radio, and we drove the rest of the way home in a comfortable silence that was anything but. When we got home, I told him I was tired and went straight to bed. I did not sleep, of course. I lay there in the dark, my mind racing. I went over my plan again and again, refining every detail. I thought about every possible outcome, every excuse they might try to make. I needed to be prepared for anything. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke up with a strange sense of purpose. The anger was still there, a low simmer beneath the surface, but it was a controlled anger now. It was fuel. I got up and made coffee, just like any other day. Mark came into the kitchen, yawning. "Merry Christmas," he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. He kissed the top of my head. "Did you sleep okay?" "Like a baby," I lied, turning to face him with a smile. "Merry Christmas, honey." He seemed relieved that I was back to my old self. He had no idea that my old self was gone forever. We exchanged our real gifts to each other. He had gotten me a gift certificate for a spa day. It was a nice gift, a thoughtful gift. A week ago, it would have made me happy. Now it just felt like a cheap attempt to smooth things over, to buy my silence. I gave him the new watch he had been wanting. He loved it. He was so happy, so oblivious. It was almost pathetic. We spent the morning in a haze of fake holiday cheer. We called my parents. We watched a Christmas movie. All the while, I was counting down the hours until dinner. My sister Emily texted me around noon. "Are you okay?" she wrote. "You seemed different last night." "I am fine," I texted back. "Better than fine. Just be ready for some fireworks at dinner tonight, and have your phone charged." "What are you going to do?" she replied immediately. "I am going to tell the truth," I wrote. "And I'm going to need you to back me up." "I am there," she wrote back. No questions asked. "Whatever you need." Knowing I had her in my corner gave me an extra surge of confidence. I was not alone in this. We arrived at his parents' house at 4 o'clock for dinner. The house was full of people, aunts, uncles, cousins, all milling around, laughing and talking. The smell of roasted turkey filled the air. It was the perfect picture of a happy family Christmas. A perfect lie. Chloe rushed to greet us at the door. She was wearing a new dress, probably bought with my money. "You made it!" she squealed, hugging Mark first, then me. Her hug was stiff and brief. "Everyone is so excited to see you." I smiled sweetly. "It is good to see you too, Chloe." We made our way through the crowd, exchanging holiday greetings. I was polite, I was charming, I was everything they expected me to be. I saw Emily across the room and gave her a subtle nod. She nodded back, her eyes serious. She was ready. Dinner was a loud, chaotic affair. We all squeezed around the massive dining room table. I was seated between Mark and his uncle. Chloe was directly across from me, next to her mother. Throughout the meal, she held court, telling funny stories and making everyone laugh. Mark watched her with a proud, goofy grin on his face. He was so captivated by her performance. I ate my food slowly, methodically. I was just biding my time, waiting for the right moment. The moment came after the main course was cleared away and dessert was being served. The conversation had lulled a bit. Everyone was full and relaxed. It was the perfect time to drop a bomb. I took a sip of water, my hand steady. I turned to Mark, my expression serious. "Mark," I said, my voice clear and calm, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "We need to talk about our savings account." The chatter at the table died down. Everyone turned to look at us. Mark froze. a forkful of pumpkin pie halfway to his mouth. "Sarah, not now," he hissed, his eyes darting around the table nervously. "I think now is the perfect time," I said, my voice unwavering. I looked around at the curious faces of his family. "You see, we have been saving up for a down payment on a house. It is our biggest dream." "That is wonderful, dear," one of his aunts said, smiling kindly. "It is," I agreed. Or it was. Until I checked our account last night and discovered that $5,000 was missing. A collective gasp went through the room. Mark's face went pale. He knew exactly where this was going. "Sarah, stop it," he whispered fiercely. "Why should I stop?" I asked, my voice getting stronger. "It is a mystery. Where did all that money go? I was so worried. I thought maybe we had been hacked. But then I looked at the transaction history." I paused for dramatic effect, letting the tension build. I looked directly at Chloe, whose smile had vanished. It was a Zelle transfer. To a C. Miller. "Is not that you, Chloe?" The entire table was silent now. You could have heard a pin drop. Chloe's face was ashen. She looked like a cornered animal. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Carol, my mother-in-law, jumped to her defense. "Sarah, this is an outrageous accusation. Mark, tell her she is mistaken." Mark swallowed hard. He looked from me to his sister to his mother. He was trapped. "It was a loan," he mumbled, not looking at anyone. "I was going to tell you. She was going to pay it back." "A loan?" I said, my voice dripping with false surprise. "A $5,000 loan from our joint savings account that you did not think to mention to your wife? The account for our future home? And when were you planning on telling me, Mark? After she got her rent raised next year and needed another loan." Chloe finally found her voice. It was shaky and tearful. "I was in trouble," she whimpered, tears welling up in her eyes. "My car broke down. I did not know what else to do. I did not want to worry you, Sarah. I was going to pay him back. I swear." It was a masterful performance, the damsel in distress. Several of the relatives were already looking at me with disapproval, as if I was a monster for bringing this up and making poor Chloe cry. "Oh, you were in trouble?" I said, my voice dangerously soft. "You were so worried and so upset. That is interesting." I turned my gaze to my sister. "Emily, did you not tell me that you saw Chloe a few weeks ago at that Italian restaurant? What was she doing then? Did she seem worried to you?" Emily picked up her cue perfectly. She pulled out her phone. "It is funny you should mention that," she said, her voice casual. "She was on her phone the whole night. I thought she was dealing with something important. I even took a picture because I thought it was cute how focused she was. She stood up and started passing her phone around the table. Here, Uncle Bob, you can see it first." Chloe's eyes widened in horror. "What is that? What are you doing?" she shrieked, her voice losing its tearful quality and becoming sharp with panic. "Just showing a picture," Emily said calmly. The phone made its way around the table. I watched as each relative's expression changed from confusion to shock to disgust. They read the texts. They saw the words about my ugly sweater, about Mark being wrapped around her finger, about the planned humiliation of the Christmas gifts. They saw the truth. When the phone finally reached Carol, she looked at it, and her face went slack with shock. She looked at her daughter as if she had never seen her before. "Chloe, what is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Chloe was cornered. There was no way to lie her way out of this. The proof was right there, being passed around for the entire family to see. "It was a joke," she cried desperately. "We were just joking around. Sarah knows I do not mean it. She is just being sensitive." "A joke?" I said, my voice ringing with clarity in the silent room. "You think it is a joke to mock me behind my back? You think it is a joke to brag about manipulating your brother into stealing from our future? You think it is a joke to plan to humiliate me on Christmas? Because I am not laughing." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I looked at Mark. His face was a mask of shame and disbelief. He was staring at Chloe, the adoration in his eyes finally gone, replaced by a look of dawning horror. He was finally seeing her for who she truly was. "And you," I said, my voice cold and hard. "You let this happen. You complained about me to her. You told her you just agree with me to shut me up. You lied to me for months. You stole from me. You chose her over and over again. And last night, you stood in front of everyone and you declared that she was your favorite person. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Well, Mark, I hope she is, because she is all you have left. I turned and looked at the stunned faces around the table. Thank you all for dinner, I said, my voice polite. I think it is time for me to go. I turned to my sister. Emily, are you ready? She stood up immediately, grabbing her purse. I have been ready for years, she said, giving Chloe one last withering look. We walked out of the dining room, leaving behind a scene of utter devastation. I could hear Chloe start to sob, real sobs this time. I heard Carol yelling her name. I heard a chorus of shocked, angry voices erupting behind us, but I did not turn back. I kept walking. As we were putting on our coats in the hallway, Mark came running after us. Sarah, wait, he pleaded, grabbing my arm. Please, do not go. We can fix this. I am so sorry. I did not know. I had no idea she was like that. I pulled my arm away from him. You did not know? I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Or you did not want to know. I have been trying to tell you for years that she was not who you thought she was, but you never listened. You always took her side. You always chose her. This is not just about her, Mark. This is about you, your lies, your betrayal. I can change, he begged, his eyes filling with tears. I will do anything. We can go to counseling. I will cut her off. I will do whatever it takes. Please, Sarah, do not leave me. I looked at him, at the man I had loved, the man I had built a life with, and I felt nothing. Just a vast, empty space where my love used to be. The trust was gone. The respect was gone. All that was left was the wreckage. I'm not making any decisions right now, I said, my voice flat. I'm going to stay with Emily for a while. I need some space. I need to think. I looked him dead in the eye. You have a lot of work to do, Mark. You need to figure out who you want to be, a husband or a brother, because it is clear you cannot be both. With that, I turned my back on him and walked out the front door into the cold night. Emily was right behind me. We got into her car and drove away, not saying a word. I did not look back. I did not need to. I could already picture the scene I had left behind. A family Christmas ruined, a web of lies exposed, and a perfect daughter knocked off her pedestal. It was not the Christmas I had ever imagined, but in a strange way, it was the most honest one I had ever had. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. The war was over. I had not just fought back. I had won. The days that followed were a blur of quiet support and deep reflection. I stayed in Emily's spare room, which she had quickly made up for me. It was small and simple, but it felt more like a home than the house I shared with Mark had in a very long time. It was a sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe without feeling like I was being watched or judged. My phone was a constant source of buzzing and ringing. Mark called and texted relentlessly. At first, his messages were frantic apologies. I am so sorry, Sarah. I was a fool. I was blind. Please come home. Then they became desperate pleas. I cannot eat. I cannot sleep. This house is so empty without you. I need you. I did not answer any of them. I read them, each one a small testament to the chaos I had unleashed. And then I would put the phone down. I was not ready to talk to him. I did not know if I ever would be. His words felt hollow, like the panicked ramblings of a man who had just lost his favorite toy, not a husband who had finally understood the depth of his betrayal. He was sorry he got caught. That was all. My in-laws also tried to reach me. Carol left a series of voicemails. The first one was angry. I cannot believe you would do this to our family, Sarah. On Christmas Day, you humiliated Chloe. You should be ashamed of yourself. The second one was slightly more conciliatory, though still dripping with blame. Look, maybe Chloe was wrong to write those things, but she is a good girl. She was just upset. You did not have to blow everything up like this. You have torn this family apart. The final one was weeping. Please, Sarah. Mark is a mess. Chloe will not leave her room. You have to fix this. I deleted every single one without a reply. Her messages were proof that she had learned nothing. In her mind, I was still the problem. I was the one who had torn the family apart, not her manipulative daughter or her enabling son. They saw my act of self-preservation as an act of aggression. They would never change. The only person from his family who I did speak to was his father. He called me a few days after Christmas. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. His voice was tired and heavy. "Sarah," he said, "I am not calling to make excuses for anyone. What you did, well, it was a long time coming. I just wanted to say I am sorry." I was so surprised, I did not know what to say. "Sorry for what?" I finally managed. "For all of it," he said with a sigh, "for not seeing what was right in front of my face for years, for letting Carol and Mark treat that girl like she was a princess who could do no wrong. I saw the way she treated you sometimes. The little comments, the looks. I should have said something. I should have stood up for you. But it was easier to keep the peace. I am an old man, and I am a coward. I am sorry for that." His words were like a balm on a raw wound. To have someone from that family finally acknowledge my reality, to validate my experience, meant more than he could ever know. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "That means a lot." "Mark is a good man deep down," he continued, "but he is weak when it comes to his sister. He always has been. I do not know if you can forgive him, and I would not blame you if you could not. But I hope he figures out how to be the husband you deserve." He paused. "Take care of yourself, Sarah." Then he hung up. Emily was my constant shadow, my guardian angel. She made me tea. She sat with me while I stared blankly at the television. She listened when I needed to talk. And she sat in comfortable silence when I did not. One evening, about a week after Christmas, we were sitting on her couch, wrapped in blankets. "What are you going to do?" she asked gently. "I do not know," I said for the 100th time. "Part of me wants to file for divorce tomorrow. Just cut them all out of my life and start over." "And the other part?" she prompted. I sighed. "The other part remembers the man I married, the man he was before she sunk her claws in so deep, the man who made me laugh, who held me when I cried about my own family's problems. I wonder if that man is still in there somewhere." "Do you think he is?" Emily asked. I think he might be worth one last chance to find out," I said slowly. "But not like this. Not with me just going back home and pretending things can go back to normal. Things will never be normal again. If there is going to be a future for us, it has to be on my terms. Completely on my terms." A new resolve settled in me. I was not just going to react anymore. I was going to be proactive. I was going to set the rules. The next day, I finally texted Mark back. My message was short and to the point. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Main Street tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come alone," he replied instantly. "Okay. Anything. I will be there." The next morning, I walked into the coffee shop and saw him already sitting at a small table in the corner. He looked terrible. He had dark circles under his eyes, and he had lost weight. He stood up when he saw me, his expression a mixture of hope and fear. "Sarah," he said, his voice hoarse. "Sit down, Mark," I said, my voice cool. I did not sit opposite him. I sat next to him, so we were both facing forward. I did not want this to be a confrontation. I wanted it to be a dictation. "I brought you something," he said, pushing a piece of paper across the table. It was a bank statement. He had taken the $5,000 from his personal retirement account and deposited it back into our joint savings. "That is a start," I said, glancing at it before pushing it back toward him. "But it is not about the money anymore. You know that, right?" He nodded vigorously. "I know. It was never about the money. It was about trust. It was about me being a terrible husband, a terrible partner. I know that now." "Good," I said. "Because if we are going to have any chance of fixing this, and I mean a very, very small chance, then things are going to change. And you are not going to like most of the changes." "I do not care," he said desperately. "I will do anything." "Okay," I said, taking a deep breath. "Here are the terms. Number 1, we are going into marriage counseling. Immediately. We will find a therapist, and we will go every week. If you miss a single session without a life or death reason, I am filing for divorce the next day. No excuses. He nodded. Okay, done. Number 2, we are closing our joint savings account. We will split the money in it right now, today. We will each have our own separate savings accounts from now on. We will still have a joint checking for bills, but our personal savings are separate. I will never again have to worry about my future being secretly given away. He flinched, but he nodded again. Okay. Number 3, I continued, my voice getting harder. Chloe, she is no longer a part of our life. You will not see her. You will not talk to her. You will not give her money. You will block her number. You will block her on social media. She will not be welcome in our home ever again. If she shows up, you will tell her to leave. If she calls you from a different number, you will hang up. She is, for all intents and purposes, dead to us. This was the one I knew would be the hardest. He hesitated. I saw the conflict in his eyes, the years of ingrained loyalty, of being her protector. Mark, I said, my voice like steel, this is the most important one. This is the deal breaker. You chose her on Christmas Eve. Now you have to choose me. For real this time. There is no middle ground. There is no being civil for family events. There are no family events. If your parents want to see you, they can see you without her. If they cannot manage that, then you will not see them either. It is me or it is her. You cannot have both. He stared at the table, his jaw clenched. I could see the war raging inside him. I waited. I did not push. I just let the silence stretch. This was his choice to make. Finally, he looked up at me, and there were tears in his eyes. But there was also a look of resolve I had not seen before. You, he said, his voice cracking. I choose you. I have always chosen you. I was just too stupid and weak to show it. I choose you, Sarah. Completely. He pulled out his phone right there at the table. I watched as he found Chloe's contact and blocked her number. I watched as he went on social media and blocked her profile. He did not hesitate. What about my mom? He asked, his voice small. Your mother is a grown woman, I said. She enabled this for years. She is not to contact me. If she wants a relationship with you, she will have to learn to respect your wife and your marriage. That means she does not get to pressure you about Chloe. If she brings her up, you tell her the conversation is over and you hang up the phone. You have to set the boundary, Mark. You have to enforce it. He nodded slowly. Okay, I can do that. Good, I said. And finally, I am not coming home right away. I am going to stay with Emily for another month. We are going to start counseling while I am living there. I need to see that you are serious about this. I need to see you actually do the work. I need to know that you are changing because you want to, not just because you are scared of losing me. I need to feel safe again, and I do not feel safe in that house with you right now. He looked crushed, but he did not argue. A month, he repeated. Okay, I understand. Those are my terms, I said, standing up. Take them or leave them. If you agree, you can make the appointment with the therapist. Send me the details. If I do not hear from you by the end of the day, I will know your answer, and my next call will be to a lawyer. I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. The ball was in his court. I had done everything I could. I had laid out a path to a possible reconciliation, but it was a hard path, and he was the one who had to walk it. I spent the rest of the day feeling numb. I did not know what I wanted him to do. Part of me hoped he would fail, that he would prove he was not worth the effort, making my decision to leave easy. Another part of me, a small, stubborn part, hoped he would fight for us. That evening, I got an email. It was from a local counseling center, confirming an appointment for Mark and Sarah Miller for the following Tuesday. He had done it. He had taken the first step. It was not a victory, not yet, but it was a start. A tiny flicker of hope in the darkness. The next month was the hardest of my life. The counseling sessions were brutal. We dredged up years of resentment and unspoken anger. Our therapist was a no-nonsense woman who did not let either of us off the hook. She made Mark confront his deep-seated need to be his sister's savior, a role his mother had conditioned him into since childhood. She made me confront my own passivity, my habit of swallowing my anger and letting resentment fester instead of setting clear boundaries from the beginning. Mark, to his credit, did the work. He was raw, he was honest, and he was deeply ashamed of his behavior. He admitted that he had enjoyed being Chloe's hero, that it made him feel powerful and needed in a way he did not feel in other parts of his life. He admitted that he had known, on some level, that Chloe was manipulating him, but it was easier to believe her lies than to confront her and risk her wrath, or worse, her disappointment. He also kept his word. He did not contact Chloe. His mother, Carol, tried to test the boundaries constantly. She would call him, crying, saying Chloe was a wreck and needed her brother. Each time, Mark would say, "Mom, Sarah and I have discussed this. My marriage comes first. I cannot talk about Chloe with you." Then he would end the call. It was incredibly difficult for him, but he did it. Every single time. His father called me once during that month. "He is really trying, Sarah," he said. "I have never seen him stand up to his mother like this. He is becoming a man, the man I always hoped he would be." Slowly, very slowly, something began to shift. The ice around my heart began to thaw. I started to see glimpses of the man I had first fallen in love with, the man who was kind and funny, and who, underneath all the family baggage, had a good heart. At the end of the month, Emily and I had a long talk. "So, what is the verdict?" she asked. "I think I am going to go home," I said, the words feeling strange in my mouth. "I am not saying everything is fixed, but I think it is worth trying to fix." "Are you sure?" she asked, her eyes full of concern. "No," I said honestly, "but I am sure that if I walk away now, I will always wonder, what if? He is doing everything I asked. He is fighting for us. I have to be willing to meet him halfway." The day I moved back home was awkward. The house felt familiar, but different. Mark did not crowd me. He gave me space. He had cleaned the entire house from the top to bottom. He had bought my favorite flowers and put them on the kitchen table. They were small gestures, but they meant the world. That night, as we were getting ready for bed, he turned to me, his expression serious. "I want to show you something," he said. He handed me his phone. It was an email from his mother. The email was long and rambling, full of guilt trips and accusations. It ended with an ultimatum. "If you do not agree to see your sister and fix this, then you are no longer my son." My heart sank. I knew this would be the ultimate test. Then he showed me his reply. It was short and clear. "Mom, I'm sorry you feel that way. I will always love you, but I am a husband first now. My loyalty is to Sarah. If that means I lose you, then I will have to live with that. I hope one day you will understand. Goodbye." He had sent it an hour before I got home. He had made his choice, once and for all, without me even being there to pressure him. He had chosen me. Tears streamed down my face. They were not tears of sadness or anger. They were tears of relief. "You chose me," I whispered. "I will choose you every day for the rest of my life," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I promise." It has been a year since that Christmas. It has not been easy. Rebuilding trust is a slow, painful process. We are still in counseling, but our relationship is stronger than it has ever been. It is more honest. We talk about everything, even when it is hard. Mark has become the partner I always knew he could be. He is attentive. He is supportive, and he is fiercely protective of me and our marriage. We have no contact with his mother or Chloe. His father calls us occasionally, and we meet him for lunch sometimes. He told us that Chloe had a complete meltdown after being cut off financially and emotionally. She had to sell her new car and move into a tiny apartment. She tried to manipulate other family members, but the story of the texts and the stolen money had spread. No one was willing to be her next victim. Her reputation was ruined. Carol, in her grief and anger, has completely isolated herself, refusing to see anyone who she feels sided with me. They are two miserable people in a world of their own making. Sometimes I feel a pang of guilt for the destruction I caused. But then I remember the feeling of being humiliated in that living room, the cold words on that phone screen, the gaping hole in our savings account. I did not start the fire. I just held a mirror up to the people who did, and they were burned by their own reflection. We are saving for a house again. Our new separate savings accounts are growing steadily. It feels different this time. It feels real. It feels like we are building a future together, a future based on honesty and respect, a future where I am not just his wife, but his favorite person. And he shows me that not with expensive gifts, but with his actions every single day. The scars are still there, but they are fading. And for the first time in a very long time, I am truly happy.